Hi, everybody. Good morning. You are listening to Rejuvenation with Eve Harrow, broadcasting from Jerusalem. It is Sunday, February 18th, 2018, the third day of Adar 5778. It is a stormy day here in Jerusalem and around the country, and it's really stormy down south near Gaza. We have 2 soldiers who are in very critical condition in the hospital, 2 others who are in less critical condition in the hospital, but 4 soldiers wounded last night, right around the time that, or before Shabbat was out here in Israel. We have an insane situation on the Gaza border of like a terror state that just shoots and kills people. And I don't know how this is going to end or where it's going to end. I was down in that area last week with an organization called Camera, whose board I sit on here in Israel, the Committee for Accuracy in Middle East Reporting, and they had never been down there. It was the board members, and they had never been down there, so I took them down. We went into a Hamas tunnel right on the Gaza border, something we wouldn't be able to do today, obviously. We went all the way down to the Chalutza sand dunes on the border with Sinai, and when we heard on the news that the Egyptian government is going after ISIS in Sinai, we didn't have to hear it on the news. We were watching it, the attack helicopters and the plumes of smoke and everything. They don't have to worry, I guess, about collateral damage over there. So they're doing their best to make Sinai not one of the hotbeds of terror in the world. And we got to see that. On the other hand, on Shabbat, the tomatoes that we served at my Shabbat table were tomatoes that were grown in the hothouses there in Bnei Netzarim and in that area. Beautiful pineapples, etrogim. So it's just like crazy thing that we have going on here in Israel, where we have some of the worst people on the planet around all our borders trying to do whatever they can all the time to disrupt life. And we are doing what we can to make life better all the time and for everybody and not just for ourselves. So it's just like crazy existence. So along with that, just a couple of things that I wanted to say. I mentioned the date, but it seems like to some degree it's not 2018. We're back in the 1930s. Listening to the news this morning on the way into Jerusalem, what's going on with Poland, saying, yeah, there were Jewish criminals during the war, during Jewish war criminals. There are also Polish war criminals. There are also Russian war criminals. Like everybody was just the same. There are still survivors walking around, people who went through the horrors, survived the horrors of the Holocaust. And Poland, no less, Poland is like denying that there was anything unique in their genocide of the Jews. It's really just mind-boggling. And you think, like, is this a normal world that I'm living in where the lies can just take hold so easily? And hopefully on this show and others on this wonderful station, thelandofisrael.com, with the help of Jeremy and Ari and Ben and Tabitha, we're doing something to push back on those lies. Just a couple of little announcements before I go into my interview for today, which I'm really excited about, but I'll tell you guys in a second. Just hold on. I will be in Beth Jacob, the Beth Jacob congregation in Beverly Hills on Shabbat of April 13th and 14th. Mizrahi, the religious Zionists of America, have a wonderful program in order to help Americans celebrate, Americans and Canadians, I think North Americans, celebrate the 70th birthday of the State of Israel, which will be the English calendar date, April 19th, 2018. And they are subsidizing 70 Israeli speakers and scholars to go to 70 different synagogues around North America on the Shabbat before Yom HaAtzmaut. And so I will be, we just closed it like 5 seconds ago, at Beth Jacob, which is very exciting for me because I grew up in Los Angeles. I graduated both day school and high school in Beth Jacob quite a few years ago. So for me, it's coming back, coming back like to my childhood, and I'm really very excited and very honored to have been chosen by them to come and represent Medinat Israel, the State of Israel, during such an exciting time. So I'll leave a couple of the other announcements till the end because I have Fern Baker on the line, who stayed up very late in Chicago, and I want to let her get some sleep. So Fern, thank you so much for joining me here on the Land of Israel Network on Rejuvenation today.
My pleasure, Eve. It's great talking to you again. I remember speaking to you almost a year ago from Los Angeles also. It was even later.
Right. Right. So just to give my listeners a little bit of a background as to where we're going with this interview, I think it was last March, it was almost a year ago that I was in Chicago. The film Settlers was just a horrible, horrible film about yours truly and others like me, was being shown at a conservative synagogue in Chicago. I was asked by somebody who was aware of how horrible it was to come in and be there to try and do some damage control after the film was shown in the audience. And while I was there in Chicago, I met with Fern. We've known each other for a while, and gave birth, I think, the idea, and Fern ran with it along with Avi Zimmerman, especially, to where we are today, which is she's now the director of the Judea and Samaria Speakers Bureau, which is about to launch. So, Fern, tell us what you've been working on so hard this past year.
Well, Eve, when you and I talked, we were thinking about ways that we could get all of these talented, bright, wonderful people who are spokespeople for their different organizations or groups or independently speaking who live in Judea and Samaria. We were kind of brainstorming what's the best way to go about it. And you brought up Avi Zimmerman, who I used to do events with when I was the Midwest Director of Camera. We brought in other people. Yishai Fleischer was another fellow that we all knew.
Everybody listening to this knows Yishai. He's one of our favorite people on the planet. Yep.
So, as I said, the best and the brightest who live in Judea and Samaria. I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with some of these terrific people. As you know, we were saying, gee, how can we get to bring more people like you and Avi and Yishai to the international community and have them speak and educate, inform, debate those people who are not exactly the biggest fans of settlements, settlers, West
or just don't know anything. They just are ignorant of the situation. They're just going with the political correctness of, oh, those people are terrible, right?
You know what? And I don't even know if it's political correctness. It really is, as you said, just plain ignorance, and people just parrot what they hear. And by the way, they hear very, very little. Anyhow, I mean, you certainly don't hear too much about Judea Samaria on mainstream news. I happen to believe that most people wouldn't even be able to point it out on the map, where the regions are, what the regions are, or what the historical significance or what the biblical significance is of these regions. So we have a lot of work to do. And the best way to do it is to get together, make a concerted effort to bring these speakers to the United States, to Canada, to wherever.
Not averse to Australia or England or anywhere else or like Yishai speaks Russian. I mean, we've got also a language set here, so we can go to a lot of different places.
Absolutely. And, what we did is we put together a website called jsspeakersbureau.com. And just like any other speakers bureau, you represent talent, you represent spokespeople, and you are there as an agency to get them booked or engaged by other organizations, independently, university campuses, big conferences, public policy conferences, that kind of thing. And we want Judeans and Sumerians to be represented at the table. We want them at the table to participate in the discussions because they're authentic voices. They live it. They breathe it. I should say not they, you are one of them.
Yeah. Well, one of the frustrations look, I've been doing this for close to 30 years now, And since I moved to Israel, it's almost 30 years since I moved here, but even before, when I was still living in Los Angeles, realizing that what people thought about Judea and Samaria and what was actually happening here sometimes bore a slight resemblance to each other. And there are obviously other speakers bureaus out there. And when trying to get involved with them, more than once I was told, listen, if you're coming in politically, if it's seen that you're coming in order to explain to people why Jews have the right to live in Judea, then it's just not going to happen. People do not want to hear that. Go in as, something a little more parv, as they say, something apolitical, maybe as a tour guide or something like that. And it's something that I can do. Obviously, I've got a lot that I have to talk about, but how come we can't deal with the elephant in the room? These are the occupation and all these are the issues that come up all the time. And so rarely are the voices of the Jews living here heard in any kind of cogent fashion. You can always find a nutcase because every single segment of society has somebody who doesn't represent it well. And inevitably, that's who the news is going to find to tar us all with that same brush. But just as an example, in a couple of weeks, a lot of us are going to be at AIPAC. And there we're going to have also, the launch of the JSSB at an event that we have to have outside of AIPAC, because despite this being one of the big issues, again, of, that American Jewry is interested in or should know about, we can't get a slot at AIPAC just to have the discussion or have left, right, and center, have a huge discussion, have a huge debate on all the issues. There's so many college kids that come. Let them hear all the sides. They get thrown, these little goldfish kids get thrown into the shark pit, the shark pond, if you will, especially of universities, and don't even know how to answer. And we can't do it. We can't do it in a formal way. So we're going to have a great event, which I'm actually going to mention right now, as long as I brought it up, on Monday, March 5th. If you were in the Washington, D.C. area, Monday, March 5th, from 1 to 3 at the 6th and I Synagogue, we are going to have an event, a Judea and Samaria event, with all kinds of great wine and dates and all kinds of products from Judea and Samaria. A lot of speakers from there. Fern is also going to be there, so you can meet her, and that's when there'll be like the official launch of the Speakers Bureau. You guys are just getting a preview today because, hey, what can I do? I'm a giver. So so exactly what you're saying. This is why there's such a need to finally say it's in the title. There's no fooling anybody. The Judea and Samaria Speakers Bureau. These are people who live it. These are people who know it. We don't all speak with one voice. We have a lot of different opinions, even amongst ourselves. This is not a homogeneous group by any stretch of the imagination, but the discussion has to happen. It can't be like this.
Right. And what I wanted to say about that is exactly what you said. We're not one group with one agenda. There's all different, diverse, independent voices. Everybody who we represent has a profile, YouTube's, links to articles that they've written. And there's a great pot of talent for people who want to bring a speaker to their event or create an event around them. There's all kinds. I mean, we have talent, filmmakers, a whole range, and we hope to expand too. And part of the reason why what I plan to do at this event on Monday is look for more talent and who would be welcome and great additions to our Speakers Bureau. And we hope to keep expanding as well until we really have a great variety. I think we have 10 speakers now that we represent. Well, we have you. We have Ari, Yishai, Ezri Tubi, who's a filmmaker, Ori Polchowski,
Avi Zimmerman.
Avi Zimmerman, right? I think I said him, Yehuda HaKohen. Yehuda, for example, is a different kind of voice. He does a whole different kind of presentation. He gives the detractors a huge opportunity to be at the table, and he encourages it. He'll take them all on. Yeah. He's got a very, very different approach.
Yes, he does.
So, when you log into the website, you'll see a carousel of speakers. You can click on any speaker, get their profile, contact them through us, through the Speakers Bureau. You'll have all that information, and you'll have a good idea of how the speaker will speak, what he or she speaks about. No surprises. There's plenty of information on the website. We're happy to help. I'm pretty experienced at putting events on, so I hope I can be a help to whoever wants to construct an event or a program, facilitate, and make it a very easy experience for them. Mm-hmm. So we're sort of a one-stop shop.
Okay, so what is the website, which, by the way, people, is still under construction? You can get into the website, but it is not done. But we didn't want to wait in terms of getting it out there. There's a lot going on all the time. So, Fern, what exactly is the website?
The website is www.jsspeakersbureau.com.
Okay.
We refer to it as JSSB, Judea and Samaria Speakers Bureau, but it's www.jsspeakersbureau.com.
Okay.
We're not a not-for-profit. We're an agency, just like a talent agency or any other kind of agency that represents clients, and our clients are our speakers. So we're just the liaison, the facilitator to bring that speaker to the other side of our client who would be booking the talent.
I just have to say, as one of the speakers in Fern's Speakers Bureau, how great it is for me to know that there's someone behind me here, because all these years, everything that I've done has pretty much, been on my own, and the contacts that I have and people that I guide or other people who listen to the show to bring us in. And all the speakers are in the same position. We all work for a living. We all have families. We're all very, very busy. And as much as we love Judea and Samaria, and as much as our lives are so caught up in everything that happens here, it's not like we've got other things that we have to do during the day besides promoting that. And so the fact that Fern really ran with this, took the initiative, and set up the Speakers Bureau in order to be able to, give us the breathing room where she can do this. I could just say, for me, Fern, really thank you so much, and I hope it's successful, because there is just so many lies, so much misinformation out there, and this is a constantly unfolding story. This is not a history lesson that people are going to get. Obviously, we go in there and we just can discuss, if someone wants, the biblical ties and the wars and the reasons that we got to the situation that we're in. But every single day, there is news coming out of Judea and Samaria, and you really need people who are very much living it, and it's part of our daily reality. It's not just something theoretical in a book. And I can't help but thinking, listening to what's going on in Gaza overnight, that had we been able to pull this together maybe before 2005, maybe it would be called the Judea, Samaria, and Gaza Speakers Bureau. And maybe some of the people who were thrown out of their homes in 2005, and now the whole country is paying the price for that horrible move, the expulsion from Gush Katif. And now we've got the whole South, and people have died, and people will continue to die, unfortunately. And we've got a whole terror state there. Maybe, just maybe, if they'd had the opportunity to go out and give the explanation of what they were doing there and what was really happening there, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in today. So who knows what plans are on people's desks and what they're anticipating doing with Judea and Samaria, that if we're able to get out there and give the explanation, give the other side, other people will stop and think and say, one second, before we go down that road and maybe make some mistakes that are not so easily walked back, maybe we need to sit and think about, this side of it and some other options. So, it's not too late to do this. Obviously not when it comes to Judea and Samaria and Israel as a whole. It's a little late for the people in Gaza, though. So, but at least now.
Yeah, we have to, as you said, the landscape is constantly changing, and who else but these folks like yourself and Avi and Yishai and all the others that we represent can clarify and answer very tough questions. Actually, I hope there are good questions, and that's another thing. I find that what has been frustrating to me as somebody who lives over here and who's a big supporter, I just find that people just don't know anything. Mm-hmm. And we sometimes forget that, and we have to take baby steps explain things from scratch.
Right.
Very interesting. Yes, because even as I said, we will have a map on the website just to help people understand what area we're talking about. And, we also want to eventually, we would like the lexicon to be changed. We don't really like the word settler and settlement. We could like it, or, it could become a positive, but we really don't like it because it doesn't conjure up
well, it's become a pejorative term, the way it's used now. Absolutely.
Right, exactly. We would like people to refer to the area as Judea and Samaria, although it's commonly referred to as the West Bank. And I would bet that a lot of people don't understand that the Judea and Samaria is what we commonly refer to as the West Bank. So we really have a big job ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we want to talk, if we want to talk to the detractors, to audiences that are not the choir, and that really is our goal. I want to make that clear. It's our goal to talk to people who are not pro the region.
It's our goal to educate. That's what we are. We want to educate. And what we need to educate about doesn't fit into a soundbite. And that's been a very big problem over the years. Everybody doesn't, nobody's got an attention span anymore. If you tweet it out, it's got to be 144 units, whatever it is. Nobody's got time for anything. And in order to really understand what is happening in Yudav Shomron and Judea and Samaria, it takes more than 3 minutes. And so that's why it's so important to be able to have these forums and have an ability to really show maps, talk about it, get questions also, not just give a one-way monologue, but really get questions and answers best as we can.
And be proud of it, not apologetic.
Absolutely not. Nothing makes me prouder to know that I have raised my kids in Judea, that once again we have come home. It's an unbelievable feeling. It really is. And it's something that we want to be able to share. One thing you're not going to get from any of us is apologies. Okay. Explanations. Yes. Lots of questions. Yes. If we don't know the answer, we'll say that we don't know, because we're not, we don't have all the answers. But I think first people need to understand the questions and need to understand the problems. And then together, perhaps we can work on answers that actually make sense, instead of just throwing something, a Band-Aid at a situation that is so much more complicated than people think it is.
Exactly. So I do promise your listeners and anybody else who tunes into our website that there you will find the best and the brightest, and it will continue to expand and become a full-fledged operating speakers bureau. And I look forward to it enriching all kinds of people, and just have to be open. It's very difficult in today's political climate. Nobody, people don't want to hear the other side.
That's right.
And what doesn't we don't have to mention political parties or anything like that, but it's very hard to get a point across with the opposition, if you will.
Oh, my listeners very well know what I think of the so-called liberals who only want to hear themselves, and the so-called pluralistic people who are very fine with your opinion as long as it totally lines up with theirs, and then call themselves open-minded. So, yeah, my listeners are well aware of my feeling on the subject.
So we're dealing with that, and that situation is only getting worse, not better. Very polarized. So. Our work cut out for us. It's going to be slow going. I know that all our friends will look to the website and book our speakers, which is great. And we hope that those that are a little suspicious of it will also book our speakers and say, hey, let's make this a really interesting event, a really great program. And that's what we're depending on.
Right, absolutely. And we'll go anywhere, synagogues, churches, schools, federations, community centers, wherever people really want to hear from the people living it, the witnesses to what's happening here and the players in what's happening here. So we're all very excited. And if anybody who's listening is thinking, wow, I know somebody who could fit into the Speakers Bureau, be in touch with us. We're total or has suggestions. This is totally organic and really very much at its baby steps. So I know Fern is happy to hear from everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay, that is great. Okay, Fern Baker in Chicago. You can go to sleep now. Thank you so much for staying up late. Not so easy, guys, to coordinate an interview with somebody far away from Israel. I wish she was here and we could have done it in person over a cup of coffee, but that'll happen eventually too.
Yeah, I promise.
Okay, and I will see you at APAC in just a couple of weeks. Terrific. Okay.
Safe travel.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Fern. Okay. So we're back deep. So I hope that this is something that you're thinking, wow, what a great idea. And why didn't they do this a long time ago? But at least we're doing it now. And I'm really very excited. Just want to mention also that tomorrow there is going to be I don't even know how to say it, not a podcast, but there's going to be an online show coming out that I will be a part of. Write to me for the details. It's about Jewish women. It's called Extraordinary Jewish Women. And and I'm really honored to have been a part of that with Faye Kellerman and Jamie Geller and Phyllis Chesler, whom I interviewed a few years ago, and other women who, along with myself, have really made our Jewish values and maybe even motherhood, whatever it is, the understanding of the Jewish future, very much a part of the lives that we lead and the things that we do, and drawing our strength from our faith. And so we were interviewed, and it's going to be on February 19th. If you want details on that, there's about, I think, a half-hour interview for each one of us, and there's 20 or 21 women who were part of this. And as I said, really honored to have been included. So you can email me, eve@thelandofisrael.com, and I'm happy to give you the details of that, because really there are extraordinary Jewish women out there, and I'm not so sure that we get, some of or that the other women for sure get some of the attention that they really deserve, and the understanding of where our strength comes from. We don't just feel like, oh, this is us. We understand that there's something much, much deeper, much, much older than we are that's in us, that we want to bring forward in the things that we do in our everyday life. We're not just living for ourselves. So that was very exciting to be a part of. So yeah, guys, I'm busy. Beginning of a brand new week, hopefully a good one. I'll do what I can. And I know that you all will do what you can. I mean, you're starting the week with Rejuvenation. Like, where can it go from there? So take care, everybody. Once again, thanks to Ben and to Tabitha and everybody at the station. Please be in touch. Always happy to hear from you. And really, take care, everybody, and have a great week.